In Venezuela, the candidate registration process for the July 28th presidential election continues on its fifth and last day. In Malawi, President Lazarus Chakwera declared a state of disaster in 23 districts hit by a dry spell caused by El Niño. And the UN Security Council passed for the first time a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza during the month of Ramadan. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro will present his candidacy before the National Electoral Council to seek re-election on this fifth day of registration for the upcoming presidential elections. Candidates of 9 opposition political organizations have already registered before the National Electoral Council to test their political strength. After the nominations, the Electoral Council will have between March 28th and April the 1st to decide if the registered candidates comply with the respective regulations. The Venezuelan electoral power began the process of registration of candidates last Thursday and concludes this Monday with the registration of President Maduro. We stay in Venezuela. Citizens rally across the country to show their support for President Nicolás Maduro's candidacy. The caravan of La Furia Bolivariana will accompany the president as he formalizes his candidacy for the next presidential elections. From the main cities and states of the country, the Venezuelan people traveled to Caracas in a massive caravan to support their candidate. Supporters of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela affirmed that they stand by their candidate for the defense and peace of the country. They have confidence also in the revolutionary project for the transformation of the country. In Ecuador, Brigitte Garcia, mayor of Caton Municipality of San Vicente, and her communication director, Javier Lourdes, were murdered this Sunday in the department of Manabí. The murder was confirmed by police authorities who found 2 bodies in early morning hours with no vital signs and gunshot wounds inside a vehicle. Details are unknown so far, so security forces began investigations to determine the causes and responsibles for the double crime. It's worth remembering that Garcia was elected mayor by the Citizen Revolution Party at the age of 26, being the youngest mayor in the country. On Sunday, Argentine citizens held a new march for memory, truth, and justice as they commemorate 48 years of the beginning of the last civil-military dictatorship. Human rights organizations, political parties, and social movements called to march throughout the country under the slogan "Never Again State Terrorism." The epicenter of the mobilizations will be the Plaza de Mayo in Buenos Aires. The day was expected to be one of the most massive in the 40 years since the return of democracy, in addition to the historic condemnation of the systematic plan of kidnappings, torture, and disappearance, and demand for trial and punishment of those responsible. This year, activists reject the negationist declarations and the neoliberal economic policies of Javier Milei's government. On Sunday, the president of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, was interviewed by the United States program 60 Minutes, where he reviewed topics such as Mexico's relationship with the U.S. government.
President Trump, as well as President Biden, has been very respectful, both of them. We have had differences, but we have put the general interest first, the interest of both people, the people of the United States and the people of Mexico, and we have understood each other, and that is why we are economic and commercial partners.
During the interview, the Mexican president also expressed his position on the actions taken by the governor of Texas after the approval of the law against illegal immigrants in the border territory, describing them as acts of opportunism and politicking.
The governor of Texas to make propaganda because I think he wants to be a candidate for the vice president of the United States, goes to the Rio Bravo and puts up barbed wire fences and makes an spectacle. That is opportunism. That, with all due respect, is politicking. That's not serious.
Let's take now a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the south. In Russia, the Moscow Bus Money District Court on Sunday revealed that two detainees suspected of the recent attack on the Crocus City Hall concert hall have pleaded guilty. The detainees Delson Mirzoev and Saikdakrami Rashabali-Soda admitted their guilt in the attacks that killed 100 people. By the decision of the Moscow court, and in order to satisfy the investigators' request, the suspects were remanded in custody. The court also ordered the arrest of Shamsidin Farduduni and Muhammadosovir Faisov, two more suspects in the terrorist attack of March 22nd. The attack on the Moscow concert hall left at least 137 dead and 180 wounded. Dominica's Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt is in China to commemorate 20 years of diplomatic relations between the two nations. In this way, Skerritt, accompanied by his wife and other senior government officials, were welcomed by China's Deputy Foreign Minister Hua Hyun-yin. Precisely, Skerritt stated that he intends to hold talks with senior business leaders and attend the BOA Forum for Asia in China's Hainan province. In this way, also Skerritt affirmed that they will sign several cooperation agreements which will further cement their strong bilateral ties. On Sunday, Skerritt and his delegation also visited Huawei, China's leading smartphone and technology developer. On the other hand, Hua Hyun-jin, Assistant Minister of Foreign Affairs, in his account of the social network X, highlighted that Dominica is a good friend of trust and a good partner of China in the Caribbean. In this way, the statement pointed out that China and Dominica relations have become a good example of South-South cooperation. In this regard, she further emphasized that the President of China, Xi Jinping, expressed his high appreciation for Prime Minister Skerritt's unwavering commitment to the Dominican-Chinese friendship and assured that both nations seek to develop win-win cooperation and fruitful relations for the greater benefit of their peoples. In Indonesia, rescuers recovered the bodies of 3 Rohingya refugees after the shipwreck of a boat near Aceh province. Local fishermen first spotted the 3 bodies and reported them to local authorities on Saturday. After the rescue of the bodies, the search for survivors from a ship that capsized near Aceh province was ended. On Thursday, fishermen and a team of rescuers had pulled to safety 75 people who remained huddled on the hull of the boat throughout the night. Most were sent to a temporary shelter and others to a local hospital for treatment.
We received data from the field team that the victim was found 12 nautical miles from the waters of Canada. The victim was an adult of about 35 years of age.
In Senegal, the opposition candidate Bassirou Diomaye Faye leads the vote after the presidential elections held on Sunday. In this sense, preliminary results show that Faye, candidate of the Patriots for Senegal Party, currently has 56.7% of the votes, while Amadou Ba from the Benno Bokk Yakaar coalition has 31.4%. The election day passed without serious incidents in spite of the controversies around the elections, which were scheduled for February 25 and whose postponement led to violent protests. Whereas the Electoral Commission reminded that the proclamation of the results is the sole responsibility of the authorized bodies, while Amadou Ba insists that a runoff will be necessary to determine the winner. In Malawi, President Lazarus Chakwera has declared a state of disaster in 23 districts of the country hit by a dry spell caused by El Niño. According to the Malawian leader, close to 2 million farming households and 749,113 hectares of maize, representing 44.3% of the national crop area, have been affected by the harsh conditions. The head of state said other important crops such as rice, soybeans, cowpeas, and groundnuts have also been affected. The President asked national and international organizations, the United Nations Family, the World Bank, and all other well-wishers to offer help.
You have seen we are distributing today.
I have a large piece of farmland. That is more than 1.5 acres. Together with the children I stay with, we cultivate this land. With good rains, I harvest 20 to 50 kilogram sacks of corn. This year, I'm not going to lie to you, I haven't harvested anything. We planted in November, and the corn germinated because we had rains. In December, we had less rain. There was too much sun. which burned the whole field in the crops.
In Cuba, efforts continue to deal with the damages caused by the heavy rains that hit the western part of the country. After a meeting with authorities in the capital city of Havana, Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel gave guidelines for immediate recovery actions. These actions are focused on the collection of debris and the re-establishment of water and electricity services. In this regard, social organizations of the Caribbean nation began to collect donations such as food, cleaning supplies, household items, clothes, footwear, and other resources that will contribute to the recovery of the affected families. The commemoration of the International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery and the Transatlantic Slave Trade on March 25th seeks to combat the racist legacy of that process and promote justice for the victims. Since 2006, the United Nations General Assembly established the Transatlantic Slave Trade Outreach Program, which designated March 25th of each year as the date to raise awareness of this tragic page in history. The United Nations estimates over 13 million Africans as victims of slavery, driven by the racist ideology that these women, men, and children were inferior because of the color of their skin. Despite the resilience shown by enslaved people, the racist legacy of the transatlantic slave trade persists today in prejudices and negative beliefs that are still perpetuated and affect people of African descent around the world. We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with TeleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. On Monday, the UN Security Council passed a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip during the month of Ramadan. The resolution, approved with 14 votes in favor and the United States abstention, comes after the ambassador to Mozambique, Pedro Comisario Afonso, presented the draft resolution demanding Israel a cessation of hostilities. The official expressed his gratitude to all the members of the Council for their contribution to this draft resolution and to put an end to the genocide in the Gaza Strip. Afonso stressed that the situation in Gaza is a matter of grave concern for the entire international community because of its catastrophic consequences. In Palestine, at least 9 people were reported to have been killed during a new bombing in the city of Deir al-Balah, in the center of the Gaza Strip. Local sources reported that bodies were removed from the rubble of a house that was attacked by the Israeli occupation forces, most of them belonging to women and children. In the meantime, rescue teams continue the search for the missing. Since last October 7th, the Israeli occupation army continues its aggression against the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. To date, 32,226 people have been killed and more than 74,000 wounded, while the enclave has been subjected to massive destruction and an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. The Catholic population of the Gaza Strip gathered to celebrate Palm Sunday in the midst of the constant Israeli siege. The faithful gathered at the gates of the Roman Catholic Church of the Holy Family to pray for peace and an end to the genocide in Gaza that has claimed the lives of thousands of Palestinians. The attendees expressed that Palm Sunday is an opportunity for hope, goodness and peace, both for Palestinians and for the whole world. Palestinian Catholics also criticized the restrictions of movement imposed on those in the occupied West Bank, arguing that such actions prevented many of the faithful from joining the festivities. In Australia, police arrested 19 activists after they organized a protest against the arrival of an Israeli ship in one of Sydney's main ports. Pro-Palestinian activists, including members of the Australian Maritime Union, gathered in Port Botany on Sunday afternoon to protest against the arrival of the container ship Ganges, operated by the Israeli-based shipping company Zim. Waving Palestinian flags and calling for an end to the genocide in Gaza, protesters sought to block the shipment of arms to the Israeli army. In Jordan, police officers used tear gas to disperse hundreds of demonstrators protesting in front of the Israeli embassy in the capital city of Amman against the latest Israeli assault on hospitals in Gaza and the massacre of civilians. Witnesses report that those present were beaten and arrested by the police when they tried to break the police cordon around the embassy. The country's authorities allowed the demonstration. However, they expressed that they would not allow any attempt to storm the Israeli embassy, a place that has been a flashpoint of anti-Zionist protests against the genocide in the Gaza Strip. In Armenia, 3 men were charged with acts of terrorism after they carried out an attempted assault on a police station in Yerevan, the capital of the country. During the attempted assault, the suspect detonated hand grenades, injuring 2 of them. A third assailant remained at the entrance and threatened to explode another grenade. According to local media sources, the men aimed at freeing members of Combat Brotherhood organization who were arrested earlier that Sunday. The group opposes the planned transfer of several villages from the Armenian region of Tavush to the neighboring region.
Vengo de la zona de la comisaría.
I come from the area of the police station. There are no assumptions about the incident. The proper authorities will provide more information. I only know that any armed person with explosives showing up at the police station, according to our criminal code, is considered an attempted act of terrorism. I say this on the basis, and I would like to remind you of the criminal laws.
Spectacular aurora borealis caused by geomagnetic storms on sun's surface may be visible in North America as far south as the Midwest. Solar eruptions are sending a stream of particles towards Earth, creating spectacular auroras in both hemispheres. The aurora borealis in the northern hemisphere will be potentially visible on Monday night in the U.S. as far south as the Midwest. In the southern hemisphere, the aurora australis could be visible in southern Australia from Victoria to Western Australia. The shimmering spectacle comes on the same night as a penumbral lunar eclipse, which will be visible around the world. Australia's Bureau of Meteorology's Space Weather Forecasting Centre issued an aurora alert on Monday morning, saying a severe solar storm was in progress and the southern lights could be visible. Let's go now to the world of sports, specifically to talk about football, because on Sunday the final of the CONCACAF Nations League was played. In this sense, the United States team beat Mexico 2-0 to become champions of the regional event. With this result, the team coached by Greg Berhalter won their 3rd title of the tournament, while the Aztecs were left with the desire to win it for the first time. The CONCACAF Nations League is a men's football championship contested by 41 national teams affiliated with CONCACAF. The tournament is held during FIFA international dates. The first edition began in September 2019. The Palestinian kufiyya is recognized worldwide as a symbol of the struggle of Palestinian people. The attire is a scarf whose use has been popularized in recent decades to reach the surprise of many the catwalks of haute couture. The typical piece of white cloth with black or red motifs, which became common on the international media scene thanks to the leader of the Palestine Liberation Organization, Yasser Arafat, has also inspired fashion designers who have taken it to many fashion shows and collections. One of the most recent episodes came from Egyptian designer Mohamed Noor, who in the heat of the current Israeli offensive against the Gaza Strip, denounced by countries, organizations and personalities around the world, presented a collection for 2024 under the title of Libre, in which all the pieces are appropriate and recreate the aesthetics of the kufiyya. Also this Monday, revelers across India and Nepal smear each other with colors and water to celebrate the Hindu Spring Festival of Colors, Holi. The festival celebrates the arrival of spring, and participants throw color powder at each other as a sign of love and friendship. Bonfires are also lit to symbolize the burning of evil, and traditional sweets are shared to foster a sense of community. Holi, in addition to its interpretation in the sacred Hindu scriptures, has its roots in the ancient Indian agricultural rituals and practices, and is also believed to be dedicated to fertility and the blossoming of new life. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our social media on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.